Okay, today we are going to do a lesson on solving linear inequalities. Inequalities could be simple or compound. I start with simple. Now, that doesn't mean it's simple, it just means there's one inequality sign. You did these in algebra 1, but lots of times some people forget what they did. So, biggest thing you want to remember, inequality, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal. The biggest difference you're going to see is if it's simple, it has one inequality. If it's compound, it has two. Um, After this year, you will not forget because you see inequalities all the time. So the biggest thing we want to remember, if it's linear, it doesn't have a square. So I can say ax plus b is less, it doesn't have to be 0, but linear just means you don't have anything but a square. It's less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal. Now, when is it a solution? And you guys will find my English is lots of times terrible on my notes, but it is a solution if when you plug it in, the statement comes out true. So just like with an equation, when's it a solution? You plug it in, it's true. The biggest difference is there's not just one answer usually for an inequality. There's lots of numbers that will work and make it true. So graphing, graphing, when you're graphing a simple inequality, your graph is all the points on the number line that represent those numbers. What we want to remember, open dot doesn't include the number. So if you have greater than or less than, open dot. Close dot, greater than or equal, less than or equal. So if I said graph this, I am really saying give me all the numbers, any number that I can plug in for x that is less than 2. Now you also want to know, for me, as you go on in math, we don't need to make these number lines with like -5, -4, -3, etc. What do you need to show on your number line? 2. Where are numbers if they're less than 2? I got an open circle, no equal. Numbers that are less than 2 are that way. I hope if you're in Algebra 2, you know that that's 1 and 0 and -1, etc. I don't need you to show me that. So here, the reason I give this one is because there's a lot of people that are like, less than is left. Well, if you did this problem and you went left, you would be wrong, because this is saying, give me numbers x that are bigger than -1. I tell people, if you're like a less than left, that's when the variable is to the left. So can you switch this around and put x there and put -1 there and look at its opening up towards the x? So those are numbers that are greater or equal to -1. Well, if I were going to graph that, there's -1. Numbers that are bigger than -1 are 0, 1, etc. So I start at -1. I color it in because it's got the equal sign. Those numbers to the right are bigger than -1. So what we're going to do, solve. So we're solving simple. I will do compound in class, live. So simple inequalities solve just like an equation, meaning you always brought down that equal sign, you always bring down the inequality sign. The only difference is if you multiply or divide, only multiply or divide, not add, subtract. If you multiply or divide while you are solving by a negative number, you switch the direction of the inequality sign. Doesn't matter if your answer comes out positive or negative. It's if you multiply or divide by a negative, if it's a greater than, it becomes a less than. If it's a less than, it becomes a greater than. So hopefully you got that. Looking, I'm going to solve 4x plus 9 is less than 25. I am trying to get x alone. Subtract 9. 4x is less than 25 minus 9 is 16. Divide by 4. Now, I divided, but it was positive that I divided by. I'm not switching that inequality. X is less than 4. If I asked you to graph that, that would mean you would have 4. An open circle because of no equal sign. What numbers could you plug in for X and make that true? Any number to the left of 4. 3 would work, 2 would work. Negative 100 is less than 4. But numbers to the right are not less than 4. So that's where I'm saying there's lots of answers. So if you look at this one, I'm trying to get X alone. This is one a lot of people mess up because they see that negative 3. That's a positive 1. You move that by subtracting it. So now I'm left with negative 3x. Negative 14 minus 1 is negative 15. I'm going to divide by negative 3 to get rid of that. I divided by a negative. So this greater than or equal to becomes a less than or equal to. Doesn't matter what my answer comes out as. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive. I divided by a negative. So what does that mean on a number line? There's 5. Closed circle because of the equal sign. Any number smaller than 5 will work. So, I mean, you can check, put 0 in. If you put 0 in for x, 1 minus 3 times 0 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Is 1 greater than negative 14? Yes, it is. So then the last one, what do I do? This is still a simple inequality. One inequality sign. But I have x's on both sides. Just like an equation. When you do equations, you look for the smaller x. 5x is smaller than 7x. So I'm going to move it with inverse operations. I'm left with 2 greater than 2x minus 4. I add 4, 6, 2x, divide by 2. I didn't do anything with that inequality sign. Greater than, greater than, greater than, greater than. I never divided or multiplied by a negative. There's my answer. Now, this is again is one that people mess up. 3 is bigger than x. X is smaller than 3. So you don't like it like that? Switch it. What does that mean? Any number less than 3 will work in that inequality. So those are simple. Tomorrow we will do compound. And hopefully you can do the assignment over simple inequalities. We'll see you tomorrow.